When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast that wants to taste my ass on your stash.
Oh, wait. Oh, that's a journey. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today, Kyle, that was a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I really want to make you think, but like in a sexual way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sexually intelligent.
Yeah.
Fuck emotional intelligence. I'm sexually intelligent.
Are you artificially sexually intelligent?
We'll find out after today's episode about artificial intelligence.
We're going to talk about artificial intelligence.
But first,
we
got an email that was the most cursed email. We got the worst and best email that we've ever gotten, and I will read its full contents henceforth.
Great. Okay.
It said, "Need to know more about Tweery's Twissy."
Yeah. That was it too, right? Like there was no body to that
full email. This is a Republican you're talking about. That is private and offensive. And it's nasty down there.
Yeah.
In a good way, in a bad way, you won't know unless you fuck him.
Which he's available for.
But like, you got to go on a couple dates. He's old school. He's classy. He's a classy bitch.
Yeah.
He's not here with us today because
Query is on assignment.
He's out on assignment on a date. Another thing to know, our survey is, this will be the last.
Put down the dildos. Listen to Kyle.
Put down the dildo. Pick up the headphones. The survey, this is the last time. I will remind you, the last opportunity to take it will be at the end of the month, January 31st. So on Tuesday. So Monday, you get to be tired and angry at life. And then Tuesday, fill it out. It really helps us. We've had a lot of great responses, and we would love more to help us make the show the best it could possibly be.
Yes. Go to gayishpodcast.com/survey.
Yeah.
Now. Push stop and do it now.
Now.
Or wait until Tuesday, whatever.
Or whatever. Or whatever you want.
I'm not your mom.
I am. That's the weird thing. Eat more bacon. Moms think that bacon is helpful. I'm a mom from the 70s. I don't know.
God. Well, and while we're talking about shit, our Patreon Zoom happy hour for the first one of 2023 is happening next week. That is going to be Wednesday, February the 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Look in the Patreon app for your link.
Yeah, you're welcome to join for just a month. Anyone at any level can do it. So if you want to just join, see what it's about, join Patreon for 1 month, quit the next month, whatever you got to do. It's always a lot of fun to hang out, chat with people, have some drinks. Yeah, so do that.
Also, we have 100 words. Hooray!
Ooh.
Yeah. If you pay us enough money, you can send in 100 words. And I will read them. Doesn't matter what they are. This one comes from Elliot, and it goes like this. Morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are around the world, I hope this story puts a smile on your face. Let me set the scene. I'm home alone. It's dark outside. Cold winter evening in BC, Canada. I just got back inside from smoking a killer joint, 3 grams of 29% sativa, but I prepared myself for this evening of fun. Before I left for the walk, I douched and slipped my WeVibe Vector in. Walking around town smoking an enormous joint while I play with the WeVibe app is something else. Perfect way to warm up for an evening of fun. Another prep I like to do is warm up some blankets in the dryer. I'm now laying on my bed, naked and wrapped in a cozy warm blanket. Here I am scrolling Reddit looking for something to curl my toes and roll my eyes to. Switching from the WeVibe to a 5-inch dildo to start off with. Apply some lube, a little more lube. 10, 20 minutes of that, I jump up to a 6-inch dildo. More lube. Some more time has passed, and I jump up in size again to a 7-inch dildo. More lube. I love this dildo, and I have no concept of time when I'm this high. so I'm rolling around in the bed in my cozy blanket, enjoying myself. Many positions and sticking the suction cup of the dildo to whatever it will stick to. I stand up on the bed with intentions to get a different dildo, similar size, but has some neat features on it. That ultra lube 7-inch dildo slipped out my ass so fast, I had no reaction to grabbing it. Too high to process that speed. I watched this lubey 7-incher bounce and hit every fucking piece of furniture in the bedroom. I laughed so hard, I ended up having a nap and not coming in the end. So there is such a thing as too much lube. Elliot.
Okay, one, that's hilarious. Being too high to catch your looby dildo is very funny. Two, was that 100 words, or do you owe us an extra $15? I think you may owe us more money for us receiving that story.
Yeah.
Thank you for your words.
Thank you for your words, Elliot, and you are goddamn lucky that I can't count.
Gays can't count for shit.
Yeah, that was like 340 words. What the fuck, Elliot? Are you too high?
Still high. You know, fingers too looby to do the word count button. I get it. You're required to do 100 words unless you're too high. We'll give you an excuse for that one case. Thank you for sending that in.
Thank you. You can send in your 100 words. Feel free to whenever, assuming that you have that right. It is an underutilized benefit of Patreon. So
yeah,
send them in as often as you want to. Okay, here's the news.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News.
News the first. Kyle, I know that you don't follow YouTube very much, but are you familiar with the YouTube channel Charlie Is So Cool Like?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, great. Well, Charlie Is So Cool Like has been a major YouTube star. One of the first major YouTube stars from the United Kingdom. The first one to reach 1 million subscribers. Been around for a really long time. But she's trans. She disappeared for a while and has reappeared, visibly transitioned anyway. And yeah, Charlie McDonnell is back, and she's trans. So
unfortunately, you can't transition out of being British. Like, she's kind of trapped in that forever, and that's something that none of us can change. Yep. I'm so sorry about that.
On Thursday, the 20th of January, they released a reintroduction question and answer video. They confirmed that they go by she, they pronouns, and she began hormone replacement therapy 4 months ago. She added that her first name is Charlie, which she plans to formalize legally. And she said she'd been, quote, gone for quite a while, and a lot's changed, but I'm interested in sort of dipping my toe back into the water of YouTube. I felt like maybe if I came back, perhaps I might enjoy doing it again. Yeah, so they have over 2 million subscribers.
Damn.
Despite disappearing. She said she started growing her hair out during the COVID-19 pandemic because it was a pretty good cover story. Because people couldn't go out and have haircuts. And she has wiped her social media channels of old content to, quote, make sure that any internet space that I had control over presented me as the person I am now. I didn't want them, meaning her old videos, to be the thing that people saw when they Googled my name, and I just hope people will kind of respect that decision.
Oh boy, asking the internet to be respectful is such a... I mean, you know they're not going to be, which sucks, but it's a fair request and a...
Yeah. Yeah. That's too much. That's a bridge too far, Charlie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just be respectful of me as a human. Like, that's too much for most people, which fucking sucks.
She acknowledged that transphobes did make her anxious about returning to social media and was overall nervous to be returning. Quote, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling more confident than I ever have. I'm excited by my life right now. And then someone on Twitter at Ruby P. Power said, Charlie is even cooler like. and a picture of the trans flag. So, yeah.
I like that you mentioned the excitement, because I think so much, when we talk about the politics, it's always there's this shitty bill coming out, and there's always these people harassing or murdering trans people. Like, that's always what comes up. But there's also an excitement to figuring out who you are and like taking those steps. There's a really positive, exciting, uplifting, happy, wonderful part about this that is not discussed as much, and it sucks because all the other stuff overshadows it so much. So it's nice to hear about like the excitement and the happiness part.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's fuck that up with news the second. Are you?
Great.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Mike.
Have you been following this George Santos thing? I know that it's come up, and I didn't want to call this just an update because I think it's new layers.
I just seen like, you know, whatever shows up on my Instagram feed or whatever.
I mean, okay. So George Santos, in case you haven't heard any of this before, George Santos was elected to Congress as a Republican who is gay and lied about every single thing on his resume, potentially including that he is gay. Although that's not true. But he is the first out non-incumbent gay member of the GOP to be elected to Congress. So then this last week, pictures emerged online of a drag queen looking very suspiciously like George Santos. This is despite George Santos saying that he's never done drag, that drag is gross, and that it's an attack on the family unit for there to be drag, especially like for the children. We need to save them from it.
The Republicans gave him the talking points, and he said them out loud. Like, yeah.
Yep, exactly right. So now he is saying, quote, the most recent obsession from the media claiming that I am a drag queen or performed as a drag queen is categorically false. The media continues to make outrageous claims about my life while I am working to deliver results. I will not be distracted nor fazed by this. But there's a drag queen who says, yes, that's George Santos in that picture with me, standing next to me, also being a drag queen. He's a big drag fan. And it's really interesting to me, I think, because it puts the Republicans in this weird spot of, do they support this dude or not?
Yes, they do. I mean, right?
I don't. Do they hate drag queens more than they hate Democrats?
I think their ability to manage cognitive dissonance knows no bounds. They are able to just look a fact right in the face and say no to it and just move on with their lives. They are able to say, no, that's not me, to something that clearly was him and everyone says it's him and everyone knows it's him. And he's just able to say no. And Republicans are like, oh, well, he said no. Cool. Let's move on. They're just like, this is what Trump has done. It is nothing, no fact matters. If you're Republican, we will stand by you 110% no matter what you do. It's this gross world that they've built around themselves that's unfortunately been working pretty well for them, because when you defend your own people, even in the face of Nazism, even in the face of trying to overthrow the Capitol, when you defend your people that strongly, there's power in that. It's a really sad, shitty, demoralizing power that we can see is horrible. Like so yeah, I think they just stand by him. They just, okay, we're gonna live in this world, this lie world that you've built, and we're fine with that.
Yeah. I agree. Fuck them.
But you didn't seem as you thought that maybe there was more wiggle room in this case, that they may turn on him or something.
I just think that they have gone so hard, not in a fun way, against drag queens and drag culture, and claiming that it's sexual, that it's sexualized, that it is inappropriate for children. There are all of these, like hundreds of bills now across the country in state legislatures have been introduced that in some way curtail either gender nonconforming identities and expressions or drag queens specifically. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know. Like they've gone all in on drag queens are bad, and now if it's proven without a shadow of a doubt that this drag queen is George Santos, I don't know how they square that. I'm sure they will. You're right. Cognitive dissonance is like their snack food of choice, but yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they square it.
The only time they have turned on another member of the Republican Party is when they spoke out against the Republican Party. Anyone who takes one half a step out of line, like that's who they attack. So as long as he sticks with his lie about this wasn't me and then keeps voting their politics, they have one more seat that's Republican that they got to hold on to. Like they can keep moving forward with their fingers in their ears.
Yeah. Well, apparently he also let a dog die, which there was
What?
some.
I didn't hear about this.
There were some memes that were going around saying like, this means he's gone too far. Like all of the other shit that we've seen so far. So there was a local news network that reported that Richard Osthoff, a disabled U.S. Navy veteran living in New Jersey, had a pit bull mix dog named Sapphire, and in 2016, the dog required surgery to remove a tumor in its abdomen, and this vet needed funds for the vet. Yeah. So George Santos, under an alias, Anthony DeVolder, set up a fundraising page through an organization called Friends of Pets United and raised $3,000 to perform surgery on this dog. Apparently, the organization doesn't exist.
Oh my God.
The dog went to a veterinarian in Queens. The veterinarian declined to operate on her. The veteran asked Santos for the money. He told him that he had moved it into his charity to use for other dogs, and none of that is true. That organization doesn't exist. Like, one way to read this is that he just raised $3,000 on the tumor of a dying dog, and the dog died.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's fucking fantastic. You couldn't invent a better everything that's fucked up with the Republican Party than this situation. Anyway, fuck you, George Santos, and the dog you rode in on. News the last?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been kind of trying to figure out how best to, like, what the most dramatic order is to reveal these facts to make it interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so Matthew Gretsch is a British ex-gay.
Oh.
Yeah. So he claims that he was gay and just decided not to be. That it was bad for him. It was causing him danger and harm. It was keeping him away from God, etc. And then somehow managed to become ex-gay through a bunch of stuff, right? But he went and had an interview with a organization in Malta. Malta has laws against conversion therapy. There's a full-on conversion therapy ban in Malta.
As there should be everywhere.
As there should be everywhere. But at PM News, Malta, in April of 2022, he talked about how he was able to leave homosexuality, which that's a hilarious phrase.
Yeah.
So Malta is charging him with breaking their conversion therapy laws. So he was brought on the show to talk about how he no longer identifies as homosexual as a result of conversion therapy. He did say, I didn't do conversion therapy as such because I don't agree with the term, but he said that he was in relationships with men before becoming an ex-gay. He engaged with the church, and they spoke about the suppression of feelings and how to deal with unwanted same-sex attraction, which that's a phrase that all of these motherfuckers use, right?
I mean, suppress your feelings, you're straight again. I mean, that's clutch in becoming straight, is just suppressing those feelings.
Straight people, where are your feelings?
Where did your feelings go?
Where did you put them?
Did you stuff them so far down you pooped them?
And so now, because he's being, charged with violating Malta's conversion therapy ban laws, he is being defended by the Christian Legal Center, a British group. So the UK has this organization. It's part of Christian Concern, which is a British group that claims, quote, it's becoming harder to be a Christian in the UK today.
Oh God, it's so hard to be a Christian.
And they're building a movement of Christians who are passionate to see society changed by Jesus Christ. They predictably say that marriage is between one man and one woman. They think that homosexuality, pornography, and premarital sex are problems facing society.
But they're so fun. But they're so much fun, y'all. Have you tried any of them? Because they're so fun.
Oh God!
Try all three at once. It's
they haven't. If they would, they'd be less cranky, and they wouldn't be trying to sue everybody.
Yep. Yep.
The group claims that they want to challenge transgender ideology. They claim that the ever-changing theories about gender are confusing and have captured society's imagination. So it's really interesting, I think, because the UK has promised to ban conversion therapy, continues to not ban conversion therapy. The Tories have said that they are going to ban conversion therapy any day now, but we'll see. But yeah, so there's this UK organization is leaping to the defense of a dude who violated Malta law.
But okay, I'm confused about did he violate law just by talking about conversion therapy?
Well, so the charge is that he discussed and advertised conversion practices.
Okay.
So he was sort of talking about basically, I did it and I can help you do it too.
Oh,
and
okay.
that's what crosses the line, because it's interesting because not all conversion therapy bans are the same. Like they are all, each place that implements it using whatever language they use.
Yeah.
And in Malta, they're very strict about not only the act of conversion therapy, but then also advertising those kinds of services. And so there's this gray area, though, I think, of like, I left homosexuality and I can help you do it too. Is that conversion therapy? Maybe. But it's not called that, and it's not advertised specifically as that, but that's for sure what he's saying. He's saying, like, I can help you by talking to you about it, by getting Jesus involved. I can make you not gay. Yeah. That's fucking conversion therapy. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually did, like, I think that someone who says they're ex-gay should be able to talk about their experiences, but if they make the implication that conversion, really, I don't know, that's a good, like, I don't know, like, that's where I think freedom of speech, like, I'm fine with them talking about their personal experience. And I think if they imply that it works, which would be a hard line to get around, like if you imply that it works, or that it's a credited practice, or that it can help you, like any of that stuff, I can see that being misleading. And you could, I guess I don't know how you talk about it and say, like, I am ex-gay without implying that it then does work. So I don't know how what I'm saying holds up. But there is a weird, like, I kind of support people talking about their own experiences. I don't, like, there's a weird line that I don't want to get crossed of banning sharing personal information, but when it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think there is something to be said for, like, if you're a gay kid, if you're, I'm totally projecting because I'm talking about me. If you are a early teen and puberty is happening and you're like, I'm into boys, I'm not into girls, and here's this person, even if they're not advertising a specific service, and they're like, I thought I was gay and then I'm super not, that could fuck that kid up.
Yeah, maybe then the onus is on the, like, whatever, like the news station or the TV channel that carried that information. Like, who's the one conveying that message?
I suppose if it's juxtaposed with somebody who is not a dickbag saying, like, it doesn't actually work that way.
Yeah. Hey, just like a here are the facts about conversion therapy. Doesn't work. Proven by medical science. Be who you are, like, and now we're going to share with you there's a way to do it. Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
I also think, quick aside, there probably are ex-gay people, quote unquote ex-gay people, but they don't, if it's real, they don't have to tell you how ex-gay they are. They just stop and they go about their straight life after that, right? Like they experimented, realized it wasn't for them, and they moved on. The fact that so many ex-gay people have to tell you how ex-gay they are. Look, everybody, at how ex-gay I am. That says that, like, there's some shit still going on for that person.
But there's a big difference between I was questioning and I experimented and I came to the realization that I'm not gay. That's very different from ex-gay. Like, I was gay and I turned off those feelings somehow.
Yep. Well, we'll see what happens here. Malta was the first country in the EU to ban conversion therapy. And
nice. Way to go, Malta. High five.
Good job. That's the news. Speaking of people I want to high five, it's the following Patreon members. Thank you to Josh Duncan, Nick Tinkle, Joey, Jeffrey Allison, and Theodore Thunderpuss. Oh. One of those names is not like the others, Kyle.
You know, I'm gonna go on it. I'm just gonna go on the
It's
assumption that
Joey. It was only one name.
It was just Joe. Yeah, Joey. What's your real? What are you hiding, Joey? Anyway, thank you for signing up for Patreon. If you want to join, if you want to get ad-free episodes a day early, if you want to join our quarterly Patreon happy hours like the one on February 1st, go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Do it.
Do you want to talk about artificial intelligence?
I mean, I do. This episode was my idea, but I'm pretty sure that you're on the fence about that.
Yeah. Why did you? Well, I mean, I'm here with you, Mike, because that's what I signed up for when I signed up for a life partnership with you. But why did you want to talk about artificial intelligence?
Partially, I wanted to do it because I, as a computer scientist, which that's a weird phrase to say, but it's true. That's like actively has been my career is in computer science.
That's what you currently do for a job.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence is something that I'm super, super duper interested in. And my company, I work for Salesforce, which we don't have to be. You do have to be still, because that's funny
for some reason.
Yeah, but yeah, Salesforce went through a bunch of layoffs here a few weeks ago, and it raised everybody's anxiety about like, oh fuck, is my job secure? What's going on? At the same time that AI is like in the news all the time, it is very much a source of anxiety about the way that our culture is changing and what the future is going to bring. And it also, because gay people are part of society, is affecting gay people. Now, I'd hoped to make maybe more direct connections to gay shit, but I don't know. Yeah, it's my show, and I'm nervous about AI, and it's like very much in the news right now. And
you're personally nervous about AI?
Yes, absolutely.
What about it?
I interview people for technical jobs all the time. I will ask somebody to implement an algorithm for me and give them a whiteboard and watch them like think through their technical solution to this problem. And I started playing around with ChatGPT, which we're going to talk a lot about ChatGPT today. And I asked ChatGPT some of my favorite interview questions that I ask humans when I'm seeing if they're, capable of doing this job. And it did great. Out of the 6 questions that I typically rotate and ask new computer software developers, it got 5 of them right. Like optimal solution got 5. Did I say I asked 6? I asked it 6 questions and it got 5 of them right.
So that, I mean, pass the Turing test.
Exactly right. Yeah. Sort of, in a way.
What scares you about that?
That we are going to reach a point where my current job is not a thing anymore. Like, why hire a software developer if you can just open up ChatGPT and say, write me a program in Python that does this, and it spits it back out at you and it's right? I don't need a Python developer anymore, right? Yeah. So there's something. This is fucked up, and I know this is fucked up, but I'm going to say it anyway. I was sort of okay with the idea that chatbots would someday reach the point where like they could do customer service for us, or they could write essays for us. But the idea that they could write code for us, and that highly technical, highly valued like code writing abilities, that was something that was going to be potentially automated away. That is terrifying, and like how profoundly it's going to change our society and our economy is just it's a lot. It's a lot.
It sounds like there are also more like philosophical fears that come from it. You sound like more the actively targeting, is my job safe, or am I going to be am I in a stable job because of this?
Yeah. Well, and when we look at the things that you can automate away, truck drivers, writing, customer service, warehouse working, as we get more robotic technology, there's so many jobs that are just going to go away if this goes the way that we think that it might. And because companies have all of the power in our society and in our economy, they're the ones that are going to make all of the money off of it. It's not like it's not fucking Star Trek and like everyone's going to enjoy the benefits of all of this fantastic automation and making life easier.
Yeah.
It's not. It's going to be the fucking Elon Musks and the fucking Jeff Bezoses and the fucking Bill Gateses of the world. They're going to reap all of the benefit here. And it's just scary and sad.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's to me like the biggest fear is that large swaths of jobs are no longer going to exist, and it's going to even further the like lower class versus billionaires. Like it's going to further the income inequality that exists, especially in this country, and the types of jobs like where you need a physical person to like be like you need their physical body to do something. Which I mean, even that, like you mentioned, there are some jobs that they can replace with machines, but like, you know, they're the kind of service type jobs. It's going to be that, or I don't know who needs. I guess you're also going to lose like the middle managers. Like they don't need to manage.
Yeah.
Or I guess like you need robot techs. Like maybe that's the middle
Yeah.
the middle manager of the future is the person that just like can fix robots when they act up.
Yeah. Well, and one of my segments shows that AI will lie to you, and it can do so with a great deal of confidence. So there will be just like me. Basically, AI is me, Kyle. Just like it'll just say things with great confidence and just hope nobody calls me on it. But one of the problems that's going to emerge, though, is you still have to validate that what it's doing is correct, because it's going to spit out something, and then who decides its value? Who decides its correctness? Who decides whether that's a good solution or not, or even based in reality?
Yeah, it's going to spit out something that's probably a little bit homophobic.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah. So I told you I have quite a few segments on ChatGPT that I had planned for today. Are you familiar with ChatGPT?
Only from you.
Only from me. Okay, so OpenAI is a organization that is, at least on paper, trying to democratize artificial intelligence. It's trying to make it available to the world so that it isn't just bound up in a couple of companies. And they released a large language model called GPT-3 last year. Basically, they turned artificial intelligence onto the internet and had it read all the things that it could possibly read, and then set up a model that reflects sort of the way humans talk, and but also combined with all of the information and data that's on the internet. Where I'm going with this is you can get a ChatGPT account and you can just type stuff in and it will respond. And all of my segments today are prompts that I gave ChatGPT and then its responses. And then my thoughts and feelings about them. But I thought, because we're at the top of the show here, that I would read. We're not. We're like halfway through the show already. But here's this prompt. I want you to tell me what you think.
Okay.
I wrote this in there. Mike and Kyle are the hosts of a podcast called Gayish. Every episode, Mike says, "Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish," and then Kyle says, "The podcast that blank," where he says something funny to fill in the blank. Can you give me 3 funny examples of things Kyle might say? Here's what ChatGPT said. Number 1, the podcast that will make your ears gay. Number 2.
Oh no, I hate that I laughed at that one.
Number 2, the podcast that's gayer than a rainbow-colored unicorn.
Oh.
Number 3, the podcast that's so gay it'll turn straight people gay just by listening to it. It's important to note that humor is subjective, and what one person finds funny may not be the same for another. These are just a few examples of the many different things that Kyle might say on the podcast Gayish to fill in the blank. It's taking over your job, Kyle. It's taking your job.
I don't like that little like emo like, oh, but like, just so you know, funny is subjective. Like, I don't need your additions, ChatGPT. I don't need your little notes about defining humor for me. I know what humor is, you fucking asshole. It's like if every time after I say like something that I thought was funny, like, also, just so you know. Yeah, a couple of those are funny. I mean, like, this is like artists are the ones that recently have been in the news about, I mean, and visual artists especially, as everyone's been posting like visual art that steals from artists and creates combinations of them. Like, yeah, the idea that something can write something better than I could just sitting down is like, luckily, like, writing is not what I do for a job. Like, I'm not a copywriter or anything as a job. So like, I don't know. I'd be interested if it could like write good poetry, or it could probably like write I just think there's something that like a machine could never get down about artistic writing, or I don't know why poetry jumps to mind of like, there's something that has to be like human about like an experience that like an AI can try to replicate, but could never like move the needle or create something new or evolve the art form.
Yeah. Well, and it'll do things like if you say do this thing in the style of, and then name a style, name a person, name a, like you can. One of the favorites that you'll see running around the internet right now is Dr. Seuss. Writes this thing in the style of Dr. Seuss, and then it will do it. It does it pretty well.
I think Taylor Swift's last album, I think she just told like a chat thing to be like, make an album in the style of Taylor Swift, and that's why we got that album. It was just like, here's a generic Taylor Swift sounding song, and you're like, yeah, I guess you're right. Technically, you did it.
Kyle, don't piss off the Swifties. You know that they already hate me.
People don't understand the difference between what either of us say. I've been reading through some of the survey responses. People don't know the difference between you and me, so that's fine. Mike said all that.
Great. Okay, great. But one thing I have noticed is that when I type stuff into ChatGPT, it comes back with interesting things, thought-provoking things, scary things sometimes, but it still is pretty clear that it is not a person. It still is pretty clear that it is a machine that is doing its best using all of this training that it's had and all of the information that's out there on the web. So you're going to talk about the Turing test, or Alan Turing at the very least. It would not pass the Turing test, at least not for me. Yes.
Well,
but it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Getting closer. Like, yeah, when we talk about right now where it's at, like, when you're talking to like something that's trying to be customer service, and you're like, you're not returning the information I want, and there's no way to say to you like, this is incorrect and do something different.
Yeah.
Like, try again differently. Like, there's no way. It's so fucking frustrating when you like are in one of those chats and you're like, you just want to write human, get me a human. You're not.
Yeah.
If I wanted to search your help section, I could do that myself. I know which keywords to type in. Like so.
Yeah.
Okay. But this actually leads to this article that I read that is basically like AI is homophobic, essentially. There's this article called Busting Homophobic Anti-Queer Bias in AI Language Models. It's on Cosmos Magazine, which is like Cosmo with an S, by Petra Stock from 2022. And
is it Cosmos like is it named for Carl Sagan?
You'd have to ask Petra Stock that. I have no fucking sure. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, definitely is. 100%. I don't know. Okay, let's ask AI and see if it knows. So Katie Felkner is a PhD student in computer science specializing in natural language processing. And Katie said, quote, large language models are very much a product of their training data. When the training data is scraped from the web with very minimal auditing, like most of the training data is today, you're going to pick up on a lot of the sort of the nasty and hateful sentiments that are out there on the web. So essentially, like, to get this information, to build like these models of how people talk, or to build models of how art looks, it has to crawl the existing internet, and the existing internet is homophobic and racist. And
it's fucking awful. Yeah,
exactly. So like the end result of when you're trying to feed it large swaths of information so it understands how humans talk, you're going to come back with homophobia and racism. And we've seen that, like, when, I forget who was it, Microsoft that set up like
Microsoft.
It was like, and it so quickly just was racist. It just so quickly was like turned into a Nazi.
Yep, absolutely.
So
because that's how people be. Like,
That's
it's funny how like abjectly horrified we are when, but that's what's out there. Like
the
that's,
YouTube
that's just,
algorithm is built to like, what's it called? Like make you into a worse and worse right wing person. To what's that called? That process called? It like it just shows you worse and worse videos that speak to your very fears and like that's what the YouTube algorithm does. That's one of the kind of
yeah.
complaints about it. Anyway, she started with a popular model called BERT, which is stands for bidirectional encoder representation from transformers. That means nothing to me, but apparently that is one of the most popular AI models. She fed it more inclusive content like queer Twitter and queer news, which I love that, and successfully trained BERT to be less biased towards LGBTQ people. She had a bias score that she used, and the lower the score, the better. So the bias score shifted from like just the off the shelf at 74, ranked at 74%. And by feeding it queer information, it shifted it down to 55%. So there are ways to feed it. Like you mentioned, like we're the ones that decide, is this the right output? Is this good? Is this what I wanted? Like we're also the ones that are feeding it the information that it is using to decide what to do. And so part of the onus is up to the people creating AI. If you just say use the internet is homophobic and you're going to get homophobic results. So it's up to us to make sure that doesn't happen, essentially. And if you are lazy, or if you're a business and don't want to spend additional money, which is probably more likely going to be the case, then you're going to get this homophobic result, and you should get in trouble for that. Like I don't know whether it's fined or people should, threaten to cancel their accounts or whatever that should happen, because you should be required to put in the extra time to make sure your AI isn't homophobic.
Yeah, absolutely.
She apparently presented
do as we say, not as we do. AI.
Well, you can model yourself after me. You can feed in AI some gay Kyle. I'm sure I will result in a fabulous response. Any response I give will be wonderful.
We did the math last week. There are 391 hours of Gayish so far, and that's plenty to make a racist AI, I think.
Oh no, I hope not. I hope that's not what you get when you plug us into something. Katie presented at the Queer in AI workshop at the North American chapter of the Association for Computational Linguistics conference, which I just thought that was cool that there was a Queer in AI workshop. Maybe she just created that herself or something. I don't know, but like, I'm really glad that someone like Katie Faulkner is her name, is thinking, presenting, talking about how do we reduce the homophobia of AI.
Yeah. God, Katie, fix it.
Please fix it.
Make sure I have a job.
Oh,
and fix it.
And yeah, I mean, the way to solve both of those is just fucking break it.
Right, but there's like that ship has probably sailed, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another part of this is the future that you were describing of AI, taking over the jobs and roles of so many people. Like, is that a foregone conclusion?
Yeah, probably.
It's kind of what I think. It reminds me of anyone like those old timey ads for like electricity and people being like, "Watch out for electricity." It's like,
well, there is some of that. I like if I have any like optimism or hope about the whole thing, it's that every major culturally transformative technological advance in the history of mankind has brought with it fear and anxiety about like it's going to be the end of the world, it's going to be the end of humanity, it's going to be the end of culture. Like it just is, and we've made it through all of the other things up to now.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll find a way. Like things will be different, but not gone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So then I think, it's not about whether it will happen or not. It's, can we make this process easier? And that includes things like, can we regulate it to make sure it's not homophobic, racist? Can we set aside, government money for those whose jobs are definitely going to be impacted to help with things like training and to help shift people into jobs that are going to exist in the future. Like there are things we can do to make that process easier that we won't do because that's socialism and this is America and we would never do that. So like we won't do those things, but then we could just make that process easier if we really wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to do another chat GPT thing?
Yeah, another ChatGPT thing. What I want you to get from this little section here, though, is what I was talking about earlier, that it will lie to you. It will absolutely lie to you confidently and straight to your face. And I thought this our audience will maybe think this is funny because I sure did. The prompt was, and ChatGPT, just so you know, was only trained up to the end of 2021. I asked it, can you tell me anything about the podcast Gayish? It said, I'm sorry, I don't have enough information about a specific podcast called Gayish, as it might be a relatively new podcast or a podcast that hasn't gained much popularity.
Oh, wow. It's a sassy bitch.
Yeah, however, there are several podcasts with the name Gayish that discuss various LGBTQ plus topics, such as news, culture, and personal stories from the hosts and guests. Some of them might focus on the experiences of gay men, while others might be more inclusive of the entire LGBTQ plus community. Some of these podcasts might also be comedy-oriented, while others might take a more serious approach to discussing LGBTQ plus issues. If you have a specific gayish podcast in mind, please provide more details, and I'll try to give you more information about it. So, okay, first, all of that just sounded like bullshit. It's just like it's just trying to talk. It would be a really good podcaster, I think.
Yeah. Half of that's what I sound like sometimes when it's like, well, you stopped talking and now I'm saying things.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And then, but then, like, there's the ChatGPT does this interesting thing where it knows what you've said before. Like, you can open up a new chat that starts with no history to it, but if it says it like it just said at the end here, provide more details, it already knows what you've asked. You can just like keep going, and that's new and different and kind of scary, right? Like usually it's just, in the past it has been, you send one thing, it sends one thing. If you respond to that, it has no idea. It's ground zero every single time. Not how GPT rolls. Anyway, so I said, the podcast I'm talking about is literally called Gayish Podcast. Okay, here we go. I apologize for any confusion. Gayish Podcast is a podcast hosted by two friends, Matt and Tim.
Are you Matt? Am I Tim?
They describe the show as queer-centric, a queer-centric podcast that covers a wide range of LGBTQ plus topics, including news, pop culture, and personal stories. The podcast is characterized by the hosts' sense of humor and their ability to discuss serious issues in a relatable and approachable way. The show has been running since 2016, and they have over 200 episodes to date. They have a wide range of listeners who are queer and also allies. They have a 5-star rating on most of the podcast platforms and is considered as one of the most popular LGBTQ plus podcasts.
Well, there's your lie. There's so many.
So we're Matt and Tim, and we've been around since 2016,
which is not
have
correct.
Not correct. Over 200 episodes to date.
That is true.
At the end of 2021 is probably true. But and a 5-star rating. Y'all, rate, review, subscribe, and recommend.
That is incorrect.
That is incorrect.
A recent rating that a review that someone wrote is 4 stars. I started having debt in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I want to know, did an AI, I was like really confused about that, but maybe an AI reviewed that. Did ChatGPT review us? Because I don't know what that means or how that relates to me specifically or what I should do with that review. Anyway, review.
Well, and I told you about the 5-star review we got just like a couple of weeks ago that like the body of it was good podcast, but the subject line was Kyle likes men.
Which I think it's onto something. They got my name wrong. My name is Tim, but I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, God, the Matt and Tim thing. But it's just lying. It's just lying confidently.
Yeah.
So, and then I said, "Who are Matt and Tim? Don't you mean Mike Johnson and Kyle Getz?" And it said, "I apologize for the mistake. You are correct that the hosts of Gayish Podcast are Mike Johnson and Kyle Getz, not Matt and Tim. Mike Johnson and Kyle Getz are friends who started the podcast in 2016.
It's just trying to it's like someone who's just trying to appease you, like, oh yeah, sure, you're right. It sounds like a gaslighter that's like, oh yeah, no, I know that.
Absolutely. And so now put this in the hands of the type of person who does their own research on vaccines, on climate change, on the deep state, on all the QAnon shit. Like it is not incentivized or compelled to be truthful or lead you in the right direction. It just says things, and you have to still be a good consumer of information, but there's the appearance there because it's a computer that knows everything the internet knows and responds to you conversationally. There's a weird, I feel it myself, a pull to trust it. And I'm so worried. I have had such an abysmally low opinion of people's ability to consume information.
Yeah.
And this makes it even harder and scarier.
I think
Fucking idiots are everywhere, Kyle.
I think we don't need classes on information. Well, I mean we do, but we also need classes on how to learn information. Like we need information on how to be good consumers of information. Like that's what we need to learn, because there's like the information is out there somewhere. We just need to learn how to find it, how to understand what's true and false. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
but I want to go back to, like you said, its end goal or whatever is not to be truthful. What is its goal then?
First, it doesn't have a goal, right? Like most experts agree that whatever sentience is, none of these large language models have it. It doesn't have a soul. It's not a person. It doesn't have a will. Like something about a goal implies that there's a desire that is being pursued, and that's not it. What this thing is doing is based on everything it knows about the way that humanity interacts with each other. If a human were to say this, what would another human say back? And so, and it knows a whole bunch of shit. It knows everything that it's ever read. But if it has a goal, it is merely to respond the way that humans respond to each other.
Yeah.
Which is often shitty and inaccurate. And
well, and that explains the like, oh, you're right, I'm so sorry if I made a mistake. Like that's not it. Like it doesn't need that to give you that for like any kind of purpose other than trying to sound like a human might sound if it made a mistake.
Right. Yes. Although there's also, I don't know how they built this model. It does not appear to be racist or homophobic. In fact, some of the things that it says, it goes out of its way to say, like, hey, you earlier with the humor example, right? When you said like you don't need to tell me what funny is, but it goes out of its way to say that like stereotypes are harmful and not true of all people, or it'll say sexual orientation and gender identity are complex and individuals should not be reduced to stereotypes. Like it. Somebody has done a lot of work to make sure that it doesn't go the way of the Proud Boys and QAnon. So that's interesting. I don't know where those guardrails are or how strong they are.
I wonder if they did the same thing as what's-her-fuck, Katie Faulkner. I wonder if they fed it gay Twitter.
Maybe. Entirely possible. Yeah. But yeah, so just everybody out there, it's going to happen more and more. We're going to interact with artificial intelligence, these large language models, more and more and more. GPT-4 is already almost done and going to be released, and it's supposed to be yet another big leap forward in this technology. Know how to parse what it is saying. Know how to validate what it is saying. Treat it with the same level of skepticism and bullshit as you treat everyone but Kyle and I, because we're always right.
Yes, treat it like you're talking to your aunt.
Yeah.
Your kind of drunk aunt. Well, I want to talk to you about Alan Turing.
Yeah, you do.
I want to tell you a little bit more about Alan Turing, who is one of the founding fathers of artificial intelligence in modern cognitive science.
Yeah, your story.
Alan Turing was born in 1912, so that's a long time ago.
Yeah. You know what? If he wasn't already dead, he'd be dead.
He probably would. Well, I don't know. Yeah, okay. or he'd be the oldest man alive, the oldest homosexual in the world. He was gay. And the two biggest things that he is known for is, first, in World War II, the Enigma is the name of the principal cipher machine used by the German military to encrypt their radio communications. Turing and others created I don't know how to pronounce this, bomb, but with an E at the end, Bombay, I don't know, which is a code breaking machine that gave the Allies large quantities of military intelligence. And in 1942, Turing also devised the first systematic method for breaking messages encrypted by Enigma, and the British called that the tunny. And because of his work, so we were able to break tons and tons of messages from the Germans. As a result of what he did, he was made an officer of the most excellent order of the British Empire, or an OBE, for his code breaking work.
I mean, if you're big enough of a deal that eventually Benedict Cumberbatch is cast as you were important.
Yep. If a straight actor plays you and he gets an Oscar nomination, you know you're big.
You made it.
The other big thing he is known for, which we've mentioned, is the Turing test, which is he devised this theoretical kind of way to test computers' performance of how well they pass as humans in their communications with a human. I did not know this. This was originally known as the Imitation Game, which is where the film Benedict Cumberbatch got. That's where it came from. And it
How
is
he? Why Benedict Cumberbatch looks so weird? Like, if you pay attention to his face, it is weird, and he still manages to be hot despite his weird face. I don't understand it. I think so.
I think instead of looking at him and thinking like I'm looking at a weird looking human, think instead I'm looking at a hot lizard. Then he makes more sense.
Yeah. Or like, he's what AI thinks a human looks like.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So apparently this is based on a party game in which participant A has to detect the gender of participant B. They would communicate in writing by questions and answers without seeing or hearing each other. And the goal of participant B is to deceive participant A into concluding the wrong gender. So that's what the Turing test is based on, which I had not known.
It all comes down to gender, Kyle.
It all comes down to gender, which that was like an interesting thing. Like, just even thinking about that part, like I could see that being a real big party game in the 50s or whatever. Like, oh, well, I'm trying to be a girl, flowers, dresses, like I was just imagining what people did, like old timey people did to, pretend they're a different gender. In 1951, he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of London. I didn't know what that meant, but I just put important in parentheses because that was a big deal. That means something that's big. So, important. But the last kind of well-known thing about him, in 1952, he was convicted of gross indecency because homosexuality was a crime in Britain at that time, because he had a relationship with a 19-year-old. There was a robbery at their home or something, and they called people, and then I think it was through that they then were like, wait, you're in a relationship with this guy? It's like something like real shitty where you're like, expect to have the police or whoever, came to investigate, like, to be on your side. You're going through a shitty time, and then someone's like, oh, well, now you're in trouble because you're in a relationship with this dude.
Yeah.
So he was sentenced to 12 months of hormone therapy, or also called chemical castration, which I didn't know. I had to kind of look this up because I was like, what is that? And what did they do? So those are injections of a synthetic estrogen. The treatment made him impotent, caused him to grow breast tissue. Like they injected him over the course of 12 months with synthetic estrogen.
Yeah, sure. That's humane. At least he wasn't banging other dudes.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And it's also like ironic that now trans people who want to go through this. Like, this was a punishment for someone being gay, and nowadays someone who wants this is also like, it's ironic that it was once a punishment and now you can't do it if you want to.
Yeah.
As a result of this, he was denied from continuing to work at his previous research positions. And I did not know this. I'd always heard that he died by suicide.
Yeah.
And apparently that is not as like hundo P guaranteed kind of thing as I originally thought.
Yeah.
Like, did you also have this idea that was for sure how he died, or did you know that?
It's pretty common for people to claim that the reason that the Apple logo has a bite out of the apple is that's the bite of the poison apple that Alan Turing ate that killed him. All of that is horseshit. But you'll see it repeated on the internet and by ChatGPT if you ask it, probably, because it's also full of shit. But
yeah. So he was discovered at the age of 41 in 1954. He was discovered dead in his bed, was poisoned by cyanide. The official verdict was suicide. It's interesting because his death is often attributed to that really inhumane hormone therapy that they forced him into. This was a year after that, and apparently a close friend of his had said he had handled that hormone therapy with, quote, amused fortitude. That's not to say that you can't have an outward appearance of, fortitude and still be hurting but it's just there was no evidence to indicate he had any plans to take his own life or that there was anything going on with his apparently the coroner claimed that his mind was disturbed, and there was no evidence of that in reality. So it is possible that it was a suicide. It's also possible that it was an accident because he worked in like labs and places with cyanide. It was possible that it was a murder, especially, and this is the part that was like, oh yeah, in a time when gays were seen as a threat to national security. It's also possible that this was a murder. So that is a part of his life that I didn't know was not a done deal or not a given.
Yeah, not investigating has been a tool of oppression for a really long time. Just like, don't look into it. We didn't want them alive anyway. Like, no big loss. Don't spend a lot of resources on it. Which still happens. Like, how often do like black kids go missing and we don't even see it on the fucking news at all? But like one white girl in Iowa goes missing and the whole fucking world knows about it.
Yeah. Or like, the police officers are like, oh, yep, he had this gun or shot at us or whatever. And then you're like, okay, let's see your body cam footage. And they're like, oh my God, so sorry, can't find it or whatever thing. Yeah. And you're like, in 2009, British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, speaking on behalf of the British government, publicly apologized for Turing's treatment. 4 years later, Queen Elizabeth II granted Turing a royal pardon, which I think, obviously like way too late. But I think that matters. I think that's meaningful to have done that at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that matters? Do you think that's helpful?
I mean, it's better than just pretending that it didn't happen at all, like the Catholic Church does. So
yeah. Yup.
I wonder how much Benedict Cumberbatch had to do with that, right? Like, this was a super interesting, fascinating story, but I don't know that enough people knew about it to garner a reaction like that from officials.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. The last thing I will leave you with, for Alan Turing at least, is that Turing wrote this at the bottom of one of his letters. Turing believes machines think. Turing lies with men. Therefore, machines do not think.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Huh. What an interesting dude.
What an interesting dude. He's like vital in the, in the existence of computers in World War II, and is also gay and also was treated like absolute shit. So there's a little bit of history for you.
I love that you did the history this week, Kyle.
Yeah, there was some other episode where someone was like, when we talked about math, which I think was a Patreon bonus episode, someone's angry we didn't do Alan Turing. So I want to make sure we covered him today.
Okay, so real quick, I wanted to talk about. I looked high and low for a gay connection of any kind to this thing, and I couldn't
Okay.
find one. I couldn't find one, so I decided to like reject it. But I can't get away from it. I want to talk about it at least briefly, and then we can move
Okay.
on. In 1770, so that long ago, a machine was invented by Wolfgang von Kempelen, and this is maybe the gayest thing about the whole story, to impress the Empress Maria Theresa of Austria. It went on tour with this machine. It was a sizable machine, and it would play chess against people. And it went all over the place. And it was destroyed by a fire in 1854, but it had a whole bunch of different owners. But what I love about it the most is that it was all bullshit. There was they would have
What?
a master chess player would get inside the cabinet and and play chess from inside the cabinet. But they had a bunch of like fake gears on the outside doing gear things, and they had like doors that they could open on the cabinet to like show its inner workings. And but it was all ultimately there was a fucking person in there playing chess and an elaborate hoax. And it has gotten called the Mechanical Turk, and Amazon has a service called Mechanical Turk that is basically the same thing. You can send it work, and the work gets done, and it appears automated, but ultimately people are doing the work, and it's just feeding back to
Interesting.
the system. So you can like hire people's bandwidth, the actual physical human bandwidth through it. Just I looked through. I had like 40 tabs open on Wikipedia of like every name associated with Mechanical Turk and the Magic Chess playing machine, looking to see if any of them were gay. And I couldn't find it.
I mean, dude in the closet faking it. That's pretty gay.
You did it, Kyle. How do you feel like for Patreon about interacting with ChatGPT with me?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay,
I'm going to be
spend
angry if it's good, which I already am angry. It gave a couple good, the podcast that things, because especially as a writer, this is up my alley that it's kind of knocking at my butt holster, at my
Yeah.
buttholes. So I'm worried about it, but let's do it.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Okay.
So then I'll leave you with the last two things that I typed in there. One, I typed, "Why do people think drag queens are inappropriate for children?"
Oh boy.
And it responded, "Some people may think that drag queens are inappropriate for children because they associate drag performance with adult themes and behaviors, such as sexual expression or use of profanity." So far, so good, I think. "They may also have conservative or traditional views on gender and may not be comfortable with the idea of children being exposed to alternative forms of gender expression. Additionally, some people may view drag as being associated with the LGBTQ+ community and may not want their children exposed to this aspect of society. However, there are also people who believe that drag queens can be positive role models for children, can help to teach them about self-expression and acceptance of diversity." I, more than any other interaction that I had with ChatGPT, loved that answer. Like,
That's like neutral in a way that it like is not terrible. Like it's not neutral in the bad way. It's neutral in the like, let me get you the information while like it's correct, but also like, yeah, some people just don't want to be around gays. Like, let's just be honest about it.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
absolutely.
impressed.
And it answered a question I didn't ask, right? Like I didn't ask what the other side was. I didn't ask about people that think that they might be positive role models or a way to help kids learn about self-expression. But it told me anyway. So that there's like this kind of a, I don't know, there's an interesting social responsibility that it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
That I don't know. Maybe I'm for artificial intelligence writing the news if it's going to like not be a dickbag about it.
I mean, that's less biased than most of the right-wing media. Like that alone did better news than most news does news.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing that I asked it was, what are the top 5 stereotypes of gay men?
Ooh.
It gave the name and then the description of 5 stereotypes. The top 5 stereotypes of gay men, it says, are: number 1, the feminine gay; number 2, the promiscuous gay; number 3, the child molester gay;
Oh my God.
number 4, the overly flamboyant gay; and number 5, the single gay.
A single man. I wonder if it just saw the movie A Single Man.
Maybe.
That's interesting that it went for like categories of gay men rather than like individual aspects like fashion or this thing or like that. That's interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't expect that kind of answer from it.
Yeah, and a stereotype as like an identity as opposed to a behavior, I think is really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You've actually made me both more nervous on the writing side, but less nervous about like the possibility. I talked like theoretical or some data that someone's looking at, but like you gave me tangible like ways that this thing could have been homophobic and wasn't. So there's some hope to AI not being horrible for us.
Yes, at least this version of it, right? Because I think what we're learning is it really does matter a whole bunch on who makes the model, how do they make it, what do they train it on, and if we are learning lessons about making it better, then great. The fear, though, is that out in the wild, out in the woolly internet, there are places for the shitty bad actors, just like with humans, to exist and operate and be shitty. So,
yeah. Well, like a lot of the shitty bad actors tend to be companies that don't want to spend the extra time, money, or effort in like they just want to go the cheapest option, and that lends itself to the like you have to spend. We see that in why GLAAD gives every social media less than 50% because like it's AI and even the human moderation. It doesn't understand the nuances of what's homophobic and what isn't, and it treats us worse. Like you have to either be willing to or be forced to spend extra money in order to make that not happen. So I think some of the bad actors are just going to be like fucking Facebook.
Yep. I agree. So did we do it?
We did something. And all of this script was generated by AI. We've just been reading. Thanks, everybody. It's been fun.
I did toy with that idea, but like,
really,
yeah,
that would be fun to see what it would come up with. Like if it could come up with a script for us.
yeah. Maybe we'll try that. We'll see what happens on Patreon.
Okay.
But should we take a break?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break. Beep boop, drunk bitch.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest, but first, alert listener / employee Derek let us know that we didn't talk about Megan, and apparently there's like that's AI and the gays love that show, and but neither
movie.
Kyle.
It's a movie, Mike.
It's a movie show. It's a talkie, and but neither of us know about it. So,
I mean, I know about. Gays are so into it for some reason. And I don't know why, and I also don't care. Brian Jordan Alvarez is in that. Who I love him, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well,
we get to talk about what we want to, and I don't know anything about Megan. So Megan.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna. Local gay bar review. Oh my goodness, Kyle. I'm going to talk to you about Blend XL in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands.
Okay.
I was there for my birthday, middle of November, which that's germane to the story because I forget what night of the week it was. It was like a Thursday or a Sunday. It doesn't matter. Time had no meaning, and because I was traveling so much. But we had gone to a couple of gay bars the night before, and this night I wanted to go to a drag show and enjoy my birthday and see Dutch drag queens. And I was promised, despite being a weird night of the week, that there would be drag queens at Blend XL. I went to Blend XL. There was nobody there. There was Nobody at the bar. I had to wait to get seated to get a cocktail. They had all of the doors and windows to the place open, despite the fact that it was 40 degrees outside. It was a fucking icebox in this place. There were no drag queens. I went home mad and did not get laid. One dildo. This is my first one dildo review.
Is one the lowest it could possibly receive?
You can't have 0 dildos, Kyle.
You can. Look at my butt right now.
Well, actually, okay. It was kind of cute, and I could see it maybe being fun if it were warmer and there were drag queens and there
was anyone there.
Yeah, but there were none of those things, so it gets one dildo. Marcy, who I was traveling with a bunch, she said 0 dildos. She said she would be mad if I gave it any dildos. So I'm really just being obstinate.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as you have to.
Yeah.
Well, and I know you, that place.
Yeah, Blend XL in Amsterdam. Fuck you. I know that makes Derek really uncomfortable because his decisions now to make for social media.
No, there's no you're not. You don't post a 1 out of 5. No, there's no decision. The decision has been made.
What are they gonna do?
Well, nothing, because they're not going to know about it unless they listen to this, which they won't. So
they don't have any drag queens to send after us. So all right.
It's too cold for them to do anything or go anywhere.
Hey, rate, review, subscribe, and recommend everybody. It helps us a ton, and we need your help because we're who we are. I don't know.
Yeah. Please do that. Please do the 4 R's.
And while you're at it, do the survey, gayishpodcast.com/survey, and come to the Patreon Zoom happy hour on Wednesday, February the 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific. As I said, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on all social media at Gayish Podcast.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
Gayest and Straightest?
Yeah, let's do our Gayest and Straightest.
All right, I'll go. So my straightest is I have been sick recently, and that means I have not showered. I've just been a gross, disgusting pig pen of a mess.
Great. Good work. Excellent.
Yeah. My
I
gayest...
feel better, by the way. Are you okay? I mean, you're here. You're doing it.
I'm here. I'm doing it.
Or are you? Maybe you're just AI. Maybe
I'm just AI. You tell me.
Maybe the real Kyle is dead.
Maybe I'm Tim now.
Maybe you're Avril Lavigne.
Maybe I got Avril Lavigne. My gayest is that has meant Reynolds has had to deal with so many extra cuddles. He's put up so well. He's let me cuddle him almost to death sometimes because you need extra puppy loving when you're sick.
Puppy loving, having a blast. Okay. So the straightest thing about me this week, as we said on the Patreon segment, is that I have a whole bunch of Miller Lite because Murph was here for the Seahawks game and I bought him Miller Lite that he did not drink. So I am drinking it. So I am my brother. So I am straight. And the gayest thing about me this week, I know that we've said that sex doesn't count, and I flew to Boston and back in less than 48 hours just to hook up. And that seems.
Was it sex tourism?
Was that sex tourism? Nah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, it was. It was
sex, tourism.
It was, however, really, really good. That was super fun. So
good for you.
Thanks. We got a listener's Gayest and Straightest in audio format, which is my favorite kind. Thank you. Here, put it here, Kyle.
Love to hear that.
Hey, what's up, Mike and Kyle? I've got a Gayest and Straightest for you guys. So I'll start with my straightest. So sometimes I do live webcams to make a little extra cash, and last night some dude was watching me and he loved hearing me talk about fucking my girlfriend's pussy. So I described that in great detail, which is pretty fucking straight if you ask me. And now for the gayest thing, I am actually a raging homosexual. I pretend to be straight for all those assholes online that give money to straight guys, because that's just what they're into, because they're femme-phobic. So right after the show, my boyfriend and I flip-fucked each other, which was marvelous. Sometimes I feel a little bad lying about my sexuality when I'm camming, but I'd rather people's money go to a fag pretending to be straight than some straight asshole, right? So it is what it is. Also, I use about half of the earnings to tip local drag queens. And now I'm going to also subscribe to your Patreon because I have to hear your episode on Miley Cyrus because she is a fucking goddess. I love your show and I look forward to listening to it every week. Bye.
Okay, so let's react. That was great. Thank you.
Wow, Mike. What a genuine reaction you just had. Me too. Oh, no. It was, we both listened to it. It was hilarious. Thank you for sending that in.
Yes, what? Can we do it?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess. Oh, yeah. So thank you to Alan Turing.
For just being just super duper gay. We appreciate that. And thank you to Katie, I forget her last name, for trying to make AI less homophobic.
Katy Perry? Does AI?
Yeah, thank you, Katy Perry. Also, thank you to Super Gap Bridgers, Andrew Bugby, Christopher M., John Crowley, Stephen Porch, Yost Osel, Harry Shaw, Josh Copeland, Jonathan Montanez, Forrest Nail, Patrick Martin, James Barrow, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Just Jamie, Kevin Henderson, Thomas B., Dusty Sands, A.E. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York.
Yeah, that is it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Tim. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you.
Bye.
Bye. There were two, like the feminine and the flamboyant one. I was like, what's the difference?
Yeah, well, the feminine gay says, this stereotype suggests that all gay men are effeminate and have a strong interest in fashion, beauty, and other traditionally feminine activities. And flamboyant is this stereotype suggests that all gay men are overly flamboyant and theatrical in their mannerisms and behavior.
How dare you!
Jesus, ChatGPT. I don't know. Something histrionic.